What's up, everybody? I'm Kyode.
And I'm Kate.
Welcome to another episode of Scriptly Adapted's Artist Roundtable. Today we got a really special guest,
Yes.
a two-time
repeat.
guest. Our first repeat.
Yeah.
Patrice Bowman, writer, director, executive producer of the film we're going to talk about today, her film, Under the Sun, After the Wind. Patrice.
Welcome back.
Hey, thank you so much for having me back on your show.
Tell me, first and foremost, what inspired you to include scripture and the word into your film?
Under the Sun, After the Wind is a result of, the biggest thing is that it's a result of 2020 and my isolation that I felt in that year. The reason that I wanted to put that experience that I got from reading the book of Ecclesiastes and actually putting excerpts of the book into this movie, Under the Sun, After the Wind, is because I felt like I had to do something creative. I needed to go out there, work with people again in like a safe way, and make another film for myself.
Have you found it difficult connecting or finding if the audience connected well with the subject material in the film and of that nature?
It is a very specific kind of movie in terms of its source material, the Bible, and the fact that it is from my specific mindset of what I was feeling in 2020, going into 2021, which is when the film went into production, about COVID-19, the lockdown, of course, police brutality that I saw on social media. And this is my specific interpretation of the book of Ecclesiastes. In terms of this movie sort of, I guess, finding the audience, I should say, or finding a good fit, yes, it is a challenge because it is an experimental piece. It's about a Black woman who is in a room, she's isolated, and she's looking at her phone, and the social media that she sees on her phone about COVID-19, about police brutality, about protests, it all projects into her room, and she is mentally impacted by that. So it being an experimental piece versus maybe, something that's more conventionally narrative or narratively driven, I should say. Yes, there are some challenges with it. So yes, it has been a mixed bag in terms of, still finding an audience in certain film festivals, but in the festivals that it has gotten into and the people that have seen it, it has impacted them.
Your main character refers to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 2 through 8.
Yes.
What about this verse in particular helped shape your story?
I included that because I really did not want this to be a downer movie. It's a movie that has a lot of serious subject matter, and it's not always the most pleasant thing to watch, especially towards the middle. I need to reassure the audience that with the perseverance of humanity and with enough time and just continuing to push towards a more fair society, there will be a time where circumstances for humanity become better. The famous quote where like the arc of the universe goes towards justice. That is why I included that part of Ecclesiastes towards the end of that. Yes, there's a time for the suffering, there's this time for grief, but there's also a time to rise up, and there's a time for hope.
How have your films been received given the dominant scriptural context? So we know that it's something that's very important to you. We know how it shaped your life, especially in 2020, 2021. What's the general feedback, or even some specific feedback that you've gotten regarding your genre?
It's been positive in terms of appreciating the message of, in both films, persevering and the power of faith, and of course the power of human connection as well.
The film had a very experimental look, which you did refer to. Why did you go that route? And if you've explained it a little bit, just expand on that a little bit for us.
Honestly, I thought that the best way to express what I was feeling as I was stuck indoors, I had to spend a lot of time with myself and like kind of spending a lot of time with my own mind, just like thinking, The best way to express that would be have one woman, one room, totally isolated, and she only has herself on her phone, but it was just really yourself and your screen and like your thoughts. And showing that on screen was the best way to illustrate what was going on with her. Just the restrictions of COVID-19, what I learned from filming Saturday Grace, and just wanting to have the most succinct way of explaining, of showcasing this isolation. That's why I chose this experimental format. I also just wanted to experiment with projections on screen. I remember going to different, like in past years, going to different museums and art exhibitions and seeing videos projected on walls. And I always thought it was pretty cool. So I wanted to show that off in Under the Sun After the Wind.
That was really cool, actually, because it almost, for the viewer, I can speak for myself, it almost drags me into that.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
it almost
absolutely.
takes me into that world or into that situation we're watching, right? From the protests, it kind of just, and it engulfs your character, right? So I felt like the projection of the wall and having her surrounded by it almost enclosed her in her thoughts and the darkness of what was going on, and having to face that darkness and being alone with your phone, which can be terrifying, with your thoughts and your phone.
Yeah, because
you're on social media and you're seeing all this stuff. It's a black hole, right? Are you at some point looking to pivot into full-length features with the same subject material at some point?
Ultimately, I do want to make a feature. I do want to push it forward because ultimately these shorts are supposed to be a starting point as a filmmaker to move on to longer storytelling. So yes.
Where can people see the film? Have they been featured in or submitted for film festivals? Like, how are you circulating this? Have things changed due to COVID? How are you getting the word out?
You know what, with COVID-19, it's disrupted a lot of things, especially with the latest variant. So as of now, it is doing the film festival circuit run, but it's been a mixture of, sometimes it's been in person, and sometimes you think it's going to be in person, but now we got to do it virtually. So it's, at this point, the best way to watch it would be as it's playing online at these different festivals, and hopefully you can see it in person.
Listen, do you want to tell the audience anything else, your social media handles, where they can find you, like anything you post, promote?
Yeah, sure. Biggest way to keep in contact with me is through my website. It's bowmanpicturesllc.com. You can see my social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I also have a Vimeo page, and I am lifting my YouTube page off the ground.
It was a pleasure as always. It really was. Thank you so much for sharing your artistry, your craft, your beautiful work. And we look forward to having you on again.
Yes, looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
You guys, this is Keely and Kate from Scriptly Adapted's Artist Roundtable. Until next time.
But I learned there is a time for everything. A time to be quiet, and a time to speak. A time to break down, and a time to build up. Rejoice and do good as long as you live.